Hey everyone, I'm your host, Joe Fernandez. Thank you so much for tuning in to our webinar today. We are fortunate enough to have Colleen Garrigan, our application engineer from PTC, as she will be presenting our webinar topic of What's New in Mathcad Prime 5.0. We also have Jaron Clark, an inside sales consultant for Tech30, and I will now be handing over the reins to Jaron, who will give you a little background overview of Tech30.
Thank you so much, Joseph. Hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining us for this incredible opportunity to introduce ourselves and our services. Again, my name is Jaron Clark. I'm an inside sales consultant here with Tech30. And in short, Tech30, we're an engineering company that helps engineering companies do engineering. So we do this with tools and by helping our customers make the most of those tools through training and engineering services. We would love to get to know you. We'd love to get to develop a more intimate understanding of your business because we enjoy and we really understand the opportunities associated with being able to expand our customers' businesses and build a community by connecting customers who may benefit from networking with one another. Moving into the next slide, here's a slight overview as it relates to everything that we do and why we want to be your partner. So we do a broad range of things as it relates to the mechanical engineering community, from designing, analysis, manufacturing, and product lifecycle management consulting. So we were established in 2002. Currently, we have about 80 plus employees, 50 of which are engineers specific to our technical group. We're located in Mission Vallejo, California. We have a small to medium sized business enterprise status, and our business units consist of the PTC software that we offer, additive manufacturing, engineering services, and Siemens software. Moving into the next slide, as it relates to the software that we offer with PTC, here's a short list of those software. So we have Creo, we have Windchill, Mathcad, ThingWorks, which is in the Internet of Things sphere, as well as Vuforia, which is our augmented reality services. And so love to have more in-depth conversation should that suit your fancy. Moving into the next slide, we also have a broad portfolio of 3D that we sell. So you can have a quick look at the technologies referenced on this page, and I won't go into too much depth here because I just want to keep in mind that we focus on industrial use cases as it relates to 3D printing, and we help our customers make additive manufacturing become part of their finished product or used for tooling, fixtures, as well as jigs. And so if you have any interest at all in any of the areas associated with 3D printing, I urge you to contact me afterwards so that we can have a more in-depth conversation about your use cases. Moving on to the next slide, let's talk about Mathcad, which is the main reason we're all here today. Before I pass the presentation over to Colleen, I want to inform you of the services that Tech30 provides around Mathcad. So not only do we sell the software, but we also provide our unique value added services to ensure that our customers make the most of their purchased software. But first, what is the value of Mathcad as a software, right? So we have automation, we have collaboration, and then we have natural math. Moving into the next slide, I would love to talk about conversion services that we offer here for Mathcad at Tech30. So customers often see the value for standardizing tools with, in a capacity utilizing Mathcad to make it more collaborative, make it more efficient within an organization. However, it's become very evident, specifically after you see Colleen's presentation, that there are certain barriers, right? Well, one of those barriers to adopting Mathcad is getting the calculations from other formats into Mathcad. I'm sure you all have day jobs, so who really has the time to bring their legacy files from Excel and hand calculations and MATLAB files or even Mathcad 15 files into Mathcad Prime, right? Well, that's where Tech30 comes in. You can reach out to us, give us your calculations in whatever format they're in. We'll convert that data for you, and then we'll hand you your brand new Mathcad files on a silver platter. And moving forward, to ensure that you're in a position to optimize these services, we'll even provide you with additional training for all of your users to utilize Mathcad to ensure maximum usage of the tool. So if this situation describes the state of your engineering calculations, again, I urge you to please not hesitate to reach out to me and enable me to develop, again, a more in-depth understanding of everything that you hope to accomplish so that Tech 30 may be an extension of your engineering team. Moving into the last slide, any questions, feel free to reach out to us on any of our social media platforms as it relates to an email address and a phone number that's also referenced here on this last slide. So thank you all so very much for joining us today, and I'm going to hand over the reins to Colleen.
Sure. Hi, everybody. So thanks so much for joining the webcast and listening to us talk for a while. So I'm going to be talking about what's new in Mathcad Prime 5.0. So just a general walkthrough of what my presentation is going to look like. I have a couple slides for us to walk through. Then I do have a quick demonstration, and then I will go ahead and lead us back in to wrap up with a couple more slides. So hi, my name is Colleen Garrigan. I work for PTC out of an office that does intro demos to a bunch of our software. I am located right outside Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's very nice for all of you to join today. Happy to go ahead and give you a quick demonstration. So a little bit to start off here, some challenges that we do see companies face. Around the challenges of keeping all of their documentation together. That documentation includes design intent, it includes diagrams, any charts, graphs you want to have in there, along with your calculations and everything that you need a strong math engine behind. So keeping all of those together is a huge challenge that we see companies face. So that could be scattered across pencil and paper. It could be scattered across spreadsheets and Excel things, as well as documentations and maybe just in manuals. And then you might have your hard computer programs where you go ahead and do out all those calculations. When you have all of your documentation scattered, it's very hard to go ahead and reuse and share all of that hard work that you did. So that means that you're going to lose some of that intellectual property when switching from project to project or from version to version. Errors are very hard also in this traditional way of design intent and calculations. An example of that is when NASA was making a Mars robot to send up to Mars to go ahead and capture weather data. So what happened is that while NASA was doing calculations and working out how to get the robot to correctly calculate thrust, they also had a vendor working on that project. And when they combined their two different calculations, the thrust was done in one unit with NASA and in a different unit with the vendor. So when they went ahead and combined it, that conversion was never completed and the robot could not correctly and accurately calculate the thrust needed. So it ended up burning in the Mars atmosphere, couldn't calculate where to go, how much thrust to put behind it. So it ended up crashing into the Mars atmosphere and burning up. So Mathcad here is the tool that you can use to fix all of those issues. So Mathcad is the digital engineering notebook that's going to perform your calculations and document your design intent. It's a software specifically made for documenting the engineering process. So we got this 4-step process here. You can analyze all of the data, make any graphs, anything you need to really get down into the nitty-gritty about where you want to take your product. So Mathcad's going to help you analyze everything. It's going to help you solve, find that perfect dimension that's going to work for you, do all of that hard math engine calculations and solving. That Mathcad has a part of it. While you're going through and analyzing and solving all of the calculations you need, you can document your design process right next to those calculations. So you don't have to have two different documents, one to say, okay, why did we go through and make this decision, while one is doing the math to back up that decision. You can have them right next to each other, so there's no loss of information, and you can just send this one document, and the last step here. You can go ahead and share off this one document that is going to allow someone looking at it to get the whole picture from start to finish. They can see any text that they need to, any diagrams they need to, along with all of the calculation and hard work that you put into it. Okay, a little bit more about Mathcad here is it does not look like that picture on the right where you're going and you're learning a new language to go ahead and use this program. That is not what it looks like. It looks like the picture on the left. It looks like something that you would just see on pencil and paper. It has this blank white space behind it. You're able to go ahead and understand immediately what it's trying to tell you. You're not sitting down doing a whole bunch of Googling to figure out what the language is. It looks just like it would on pencil and paper. Okay, it's going to combine the ease and familiarity of a regular engineering notebook, pencil and paper, with a powerful math engine behind it that can help you solve any formulas, equations that you need. So again, it is that digital engineering notebook that's specifically made to document the engineering process. It's been tailored, handmade to help engineers have everything all in one document. A little bit more about some general capabilities of Mathcad here for a couple slides, that it's an easy to use whiteboard interface. Again, you're not learning a coding language to go ahead and use Mathcad. It's something that you can send off to anybody and they're going to be able to understand and not going to have to sit down and learn a new language. You can combine everything you want all in the one document here. And this is what we're going to be talking a lot about in the demo, about how Mathcad Prime 4 and 5 made it so much easier to go ahead and reuse even more documents that you have. But what it can do is it can combine these live graphics that we see up here in the picture. It can combine any text that you want to just further explain what's going on so someone can have an easier time following the point you're trying to get across. And it can have this all next to the math and the calculations that you're doing. And what Mathcad is going to do is it's going to manage your units automatically for you. So if you are NASA and you were getting some data from a vendor, like we were talking about before with the Mars robot, if you were getting some data from a vendor, some important calculations, you wouldn't have to worry about it when you combined it with your own. Mathcad would do all of the calculation to convert those units to whatever unit you wanted it to. Mathcad will also stop you from adding or subtracting incompatible units. So if you accidentally put in the wrong variable or something, it'll give you that little check of making sure your units are compatible. Mathcad is also self-documenting. What I mean by that is that it can start off as a draft paper. You can open up a Mathcad, do some rough calculations, maybe just take a guess, just start looking at different ideas. And you can then turn it into your final document by slowly adding graphs, slowly adding documents or any sort of diagrams you want to add, and then leave those good textual informations letting people know what's going on. So it can start off as your draft and turn into your final paper that's ready to send off to anybody who needs to check your work or just off to different engineers to make sure everyone's on the same page. Mathcad is a WYSIWYG document. I love that word. It just means what you see is what you get, that acronym there. So it means that when you go ahead and make a Mathcad document workbook and spend all the time putting it together, you could go ahead and save it off as a PDF or print it, and it's going to look exactly the same. So you won't have to worry about all those formatting things that's going to mess up how you had it in the first place. Okay. Mathcad also has a rich numeric function library. What this means is that you're not teaching Mathcad how to do all these equations here. It already knows, it's built into the platform here. So you can go ahead, find the equation you need and incorporate it into your workbook. Mathcad has many ways that you can visualize your data that you're making, that you're creating within Mathcad. So we see here, we have some regular XY plots, we have some contour plots, and we also have 3D plots. So you have a lot of ways where you can visualize your data, really drive home the point you want to when you're trying to visualize your data. Mathcad is also integrated with Creo Parametric. And by integrated, that means it's not a one-way street either. So if you make one dimension in Creo, you can push that value into Mathcad do some calculations, solve out for your next dimension or a different part you're working on, and push that value back into Creo. So you're able to push values back and forth from Mathcad to Creo and have those the 3D model and your documentation connected. So when you send those off together, someone will have a full picture, full idea of what you were trying to do. So they won't have to wonder about why you made a decision you made in Creo. They can check out the Mathcad document and be able to read exactly what that intent was. So again, you're documenting your design intent while you're working on your 3D model, having that connected so you can send it off and everyone can understand the ideas and why you did what you did. You can also do analysis-driven design. So if you're trying to figure out what's going to be the best dimension, you can go ahead and do those checks right away in Mathcad. So you're validating and verifying that everything's going to work for your design requirements while you're building your 3D model. Okay, so I'll move us now into a quick demonstration where we will talk more about those capabilities I just went through and about what specific features are new in Mathcad 4 and 5. Okay. So what we see here at the beginning is this blank workbook. I am going to move us into one that has been partially completed. And we'll take a look at how we can go ahead and update this document, this workbook, to better fit our needs. So we see here, I talked a lot about how you can have that text incorporated right in with your math, is that we have this ribbon here that looks familiar. It looks like any sort of Microsoft program you have that nice ribbon where you can go ahead and pick the bold or italic and change the font or the color, anything you'd like. So nice, looks familiar. You also have that capability to go ahead and leave that grid on in the background. Makes it look more like some engineering notebook paper here. Or you can turn it off and have that clean white space in the background, whatever you'd like to do. Okay. So this whole document here is about the deflection in the beam. So we're going to go ahead and document, while having our math next to it, our whole process here of finding what's going to happen with the deflection of the beam. So if we go ahead and take a look at this diagram, so what I did here is that I incorporated this diagram within my Mathcad workbook. While I made it in PowerPoint, I can go ahead and have that be a container within my Mathcad workbook. And what happens when I go ahead and double click on this diagram within my Mathcad workbook is it's going to automatically open my PowerPoint for me. So that means I'm not sitting here for 10 minutes trying to remember where I saved this PowerPoint presentation. Mathcad has that link embedded and it's able to open it up for me. So if I go ahead, we'll go ahead and make a couple quick formatting changes here. Maybe we want to make sure these are different colors so we can tell the difference between these middle lines versus the border lines. So make sure that that distinction was made. I can exit out of PowerPoint and it's going to automatically update for me within Mathcad. So this is something brand new in Mathcad Prime 4, and we'll talk about it later in my PowerPoint as well. It's really valuable. It saves you time from having to go ahead and find any of those documents. And what it also allows is gives you more resources for how you want to make any data you want, diagrams like this, charts and graphs like Excel. So we have one more example of this within my demo here too. But this is really powerful if you're able to reuse any drawings you want that you make in PowerPoint or Visio or Microsoft Paint as well. What we're going to do now is we're going to make a couple quick variables. And as you notice, I'm just typing B equals and D equals. And this is what I mentioned a lot before, is that this is not a coding language that I'm learning to go ahead and do this. It's just natural math notation. Okay. So let's say I accidentally type H here in my formula. And now when I meant to type D here, but let's go ahead and see how Mathcad's going to deal with this. So it goes ahead and calculates out I for me, and we see that it has all of these units attached to it. Meanwhile, I know I haven't defined units yet on my variable. So it kind of catches me off guard here. I can go back and double check and say, I did put H there. What is H? I can ask Mathcad and it'll tell me, it's this value here. And maybe, you remember from chemistry all the way back that that's Planck's constant. That's not at all what I meant to use there. Okay, so we can go ahead and delete that. And then I can go ahead, change that H to D, and it'll update automatically for me. So I just click outside of my update and it does automatically update for me. I can go ahead and add in some units here. And again, is updating automatically for me. Mathcad's base unit is meters here. You can change it to whatever you'd like. So I will just change it to centimeters there. And again, as I keep saying, it updates automatically for me. So what I did right here is I tried to add B, which I defined as in centimeters with seconds. That's not possible, so you can't add centimeters with seconds, and Mathcad does catch you on that mistake. It lets you know that these units are not compatible. Go back, double check, make sure you're doing what you actually want to. So again, with that story I told earlier with the Mars robot, if they had used Mathcad to combine these two pieces of data, it would have converted everything for you. You wouldn't have to worry about the decimal place. So it would have done that work for you, and it also stops you from making simple mistakes like this. Moving on here, we're going to look at one way that you can incorporate your Excel documents. So again, what was excellent with the releases of Mathcad Prime 4 and 5 is that it made it easier to reuse your data. So we are going to go ahead and do a read Excel function. And what we're going to do is we're going to tell Mathcad the specific rows and columns that we want to go ahead and read straight into Mathcad. So we will set that as a variable. We can go ahead and call out that variable, and it tells us those exact rows and columns. Say, oops, these are the wrong columns and rows. We can go ahead and switch those out for us. And again, Mathcad is live reading that Excel document and is going to automatically update for you. We can also do math, do calculations with these Excel data points that we're bringing in. So this is just a matrix notation to read a certain value from this chart here. So we're going to go ahead and just change the units on that. Fantastic. Moving down below, again, we have this diagram. You're incorporating everything together within Mathcad. We have this nice diagram with the well-labeled where these variables are, and then right next to that in text, we're going to go ahead and define these variables. So that means there's no confusion about what is L. That diagram is right next to it to help anybody else reading this document fully understand whatever message you're trying to get across. So we'll go ahead and define L, W, and A here. They'll be used later on. Okay, here's just some background calculations, setting everything up. So this here, this feature we're going to be looking at was new in Mathcad Prime 4. And what it does is that in areas, you can protect them. And you can password protect them and make them expanded, which means people will still be able to see whatever you're password protecting, but they won't be able to change it. You can also make it collapsed, which means not only can people not change what's in the areas, but they won't be able to see it. So it's really valuable if you have a section within your workbook that you really don't want anybody to change. If you're sending it out to different vendors, if you're sending it out to anybody, you want to make sure that this section stays how you made it. You know that that's what it needs to be. You don't want anybody changing it. You can incorporate these locked areas to make sure that it's not messed up down the line. And you can also collapse it if there's just something you don't want people to see yet. So we'll go ahead and password protect this area here, and then we can go ahead and do a calculation out with this formula here. And again, we'll use the L over 2 and L we defined right next to that diagram page above. No issue to go ahead and change that meters to millimeters. That unit there just makes more sense. We're looking here at a collapsed area. So you can absolutely make areas that you can collapse without locking them, of course. So within this area, we have some symbolic derivation. So this is getting a little bit more complicated. We might not want everyone who's going to get this sheet to take a look at this. It has just some formulas that we think people might be caught up in and might get lost in. So we want to still allow people to be able to check this out if they want to do a deep dive. But if they want to go ahead and just do the general read through, they can keep that area collapsed, not get lost in the details. Okay. So again, we're just going to change these units here from meters to millimeters, nice and easy. Okay, taking a look at some 2D graphs here. We'll go into more detail into one of those later. This is a different way that you can use Excel. This is the same way we used PowerPoint before, where we're able to double click, it automatically opens for me. I'm not sitting around trying to find where this is. It's going to open for me. I can make any formatting changes, exit out, and it's going to automatically update for me. So this is just a different way that you can reuse all of that Excel documents or any sort of documentation you have. You can go ahead and reuse that easily within Mathcad. What we're going to be doing here is this is the brand new update for Mathcad Prime 5. Is this nice window that comes up and allows you to update your 2D plots and charts. So this is really important because we see at the beginning here, this chart isn't getting across the point at all. I have no idea what it's trying to tell me. So when I go through and make all these updates, we're able to see it kind of come to life and really get the point across of what this whole point of this graph is. Now, if it's not telling me anything, why have it be a part? But I can go ahead and make these updates, make the title bold right in my face, update these axis titles to say what it's depicting. So then someone sitting down looking at this graph can take one look at it and know exactly the point you're trying to get across. You can also change these flimsy, thin lines to something bolder and the colors more bright. So we'll go ahead and just finish updating my legend here along with changing all of these lines to be more easily more easily found. So again, this is really powerful whenever you're trying to get a point across to someone who's just reading this. So you want to make sure that it makes sense. So from start to finish here, we're able to see that it makes a big difference with this formatting. And Mathcad has this now with Mathcad Prime 5. It has this all in the same window where you can go ahead and make these updates. Okay, perfect. So this shows some more advanced programming here, just again, highlighting the strong math engine behind Mathcad, where it's able to do this hard work for you. You have a contour plot and then a 3D plot. So this is the last thing I'm going to show you within the demonstration before we move back into the PowerPoint. So we'll just make a quick 3D plot here. We're able to format this as well, put on a color, a surface fill, and these are also live 3D plots where you're able to go ahead, rotate it around, zoom in, interrogate parts if you'd like. So that's also really important if you want to make sure that you can look at this from different angles. All right. So after I go ahead and zoom in, I will go ahead and move us back into our PowerPoint here, where I will wrap it up with some couple value slides, and then we'll open it up for the question and answer session. Okay. So a little bit more about what's new and I did walk through this a bit with our demo, but a little bit more about what's new specifically in 4 versus 5 is that in 4 you have performance enhancements, you have content protection, which is what we walked through where we locked that area. We also have better connection with third-party apps. We have it easier to go ahead and make equation breaks, and we also have Windows 10 support and critical bug fixes. So more about that content protection. Again, this is very important when you want to protect your intellectual property. So you can have that password optional and also make it easy to go ahead and collapse any areas you'd like to. Okay. So we did look at 2 different containers. We had that PowerPoint container where we double clicked, it opened automatically for us. We also did the same thing with Excel. Here are this picture showing that you can also do that with Visio. So again, those are just some containers you can make to automatically link to different documentation you'd like to. You can also, this slide here is about, you can copy and paste multiple regions into Word and it'll keep its formatting for you. Again, allowing you to reuse all of the hard work that you've done. So a little bit more about 5, and this is what we went through where we had this one window where we were able to have multiple y-axes on the same plot, and this is what was the great feature added in Mathcad Prime 5, where we had multiple y-axes on the same plot. You can edit The font, if you want, you can edit the style and the text options. You've got a lot of options now for what you want to do with your plots. Make sure it looks the way you want it to or the way your company standards are. So you can go ahead and add in all these axes, add in the titles, add in the legend. And we can see from start to finish here that it makes a big difference when you start off with no formatting versus all the formatting. We'll see the end picture here in a couple seconds. So some value with Mathcad Prime, especially with the new updates, is it's going to prevent the loss of intellectual property when you have everything in the same document. All your text, all your diagrams, all of your calculations, all in the same place to easily send out. You can also optimize your design process by having the Creo parametric and Mathcad connection. Do that analysis-driven design while you're making your product. You can also improve your product quality by having Mathcad go ahead and double checking and doing the math with its strong math engine behind you. And make sure there's no unit mix-ups like NASA had with its Mars robot. Okay, you could speed up your time to market by having Mathcad behind you and helping speed up your calculations and how many iterations you're going to do by having the connection between parametric can help you do everything faster. It can also help you improve your compliance with regulations if you have that one document to share off. Okay. And my last slide here was about the value 5. So this is the end look of this graph. You're able to understand the point it's trying to get across, unlike before where there was no title and no legend. So again, you can have multiple data sets so you can compare your data with ease. You can represent your data quickly because it's just all in that one window. So you can decrease your time to market, create a plot that's either to your standards or company standards, and in general, communicating this data in a clear and efficient manner so people can take a look at it and understand. So really helping you enhance your visualization of the data. So thank you for attending. We do have a quick Q&A session here at the end, and we do have the Tech 30 emails, phone numbers, all of the links that you will need for any of their social media accounts here. So again, Tech 30 has a lot of services that they can provide. If you have any old documentation with Mathcad or in different tools, they can help you go ahead and convert that into Mathcad Prime here. But I can open it back up to the Tech 30 guys. And again, please post any questions you have within the chat section here.
Hey, Colleen, we actually have a question from Alex McNabb. And Alex's question is, how do you convert from Mathcad 15 to Mathcad Prime? Is it an automated upgrade?
Right, so within Mathcad 15, there is a way that you can go ahead and convert that into a Prime documentation. It does take a little bit of work on your end, but you do need that stepping stone of Mathcad 15 to go ahead and get you into Prime. So if you do have an older version of Mathcad, say Mathcad 13, you will have to get Mathcad 15 to go ahead and update for you.
Okay, and we also have another question from David Easler. What's the link to the slides? We will have this available on YouTube and through Twitter and LinkedIn for you to access this whole presentation when it is over. And Colleen, I also heard that there are certain versions of Windows Mathcad 15 will no longer be supported by. So can you go into a little about the Windows support for Mathcad?
Sure, absolutely. So the last Windows that is going to support any Mathcad 15 or older versions is Windows 7. So you will need Windows 7 to go ahead and run any of those old Mathcad formats. Mathcad's Prime, it was made specifically to go ahead and support new Windows releases. So if you are going to update to Windows 10, you will have to get Mathcad Prime to go ahead and be compatible with that.
Cool, thank you. And we also have a question from Kevin Long. Is PTC going to keep developing the Mathcad platform? What does the future for it look like?
Sure. So there will not be a Mathcad 16. Mathcad 15 is the end for that. And again, that's what you're going to use to go ahead and jump to Mathcad Prime. Mathcad Prime is the future. They are going to have new releases of Mathcad Prime. So absolutely, Mathcad Prime is the future. They are still developing Mathcad Prime, but not the old Mathcad platform.
Okay, thank you, Colleen. If there are no more questions, we will be posting this video to YouTube later today. Feel free to pass it along to your friends, your colleagues, and please be sure to subscribe to our channel. Actually, we have one more question in from John Volton. How does Mathcad Prime interface work with SolidWorks?
So it's not a fully supported way to go ahead and do that SolidWorks connection. There is a way where you can go ahead and figure that out with your own coding. So that is not something that I speak to very much because our main focus here is the Creo parametric connection.
Okay, thank you. And are there any more questions? Feel free to ask. All right, and if there are no more questions, once again, we're posting it to YouTube. Feel free to pass it along to your friends. Follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn to get more information regarding upcoming webinars, dates, and topics. And if you could please stick around for 10 to 15 seconds after the webcast ends and leave a comment letting us know what else you want to know and see for future Mathcad webinars. That would be great. Thank you so much for attending and have a great day.